game industry is super weird right now because there's a whole bunch of tools out there for pretty much anybody, like right now, no matter what their background is, could go, I'm going to make a video game. And they could just, watch a couple tutorials and just start making something.
Imagine deciding to do something that is 10 times bigger than anything you've ever done. You have no idea how to do it. You know it's going to take years of your life, and you have absolutely no clue whether or not it's even going to be worth it in the end. That's what we're doing.
Butterscotch Shenanigans. So we are in Butterscotch Shenanigans HQ, otherwise known as my apartment. We have some of the framed art from Eric Hibbler from our previous games. We've got Talfight on the right, Quadrupus on the left. For some inspiration, Seth is currently hard at work. This is where I work, and then Diana will occasionally come by and drop off, food, so I don't forget to eat. And these are paintings and drawings of hers and ours from over the years. And we also have the Reboot Indie Game Award that we won last year at Indie PopCon, which is cool. And one of my friends had 3D printed, I don't know if anybody's ever seen this, 3D printed a Quadrupus Rampage action figure at some point. Obviously we don't have enough money to make these a real thing yet, but someday. This cow has been in my bedroom since I was, I think, 12 or so?
This is some of your finished artwork. A gigantic cow that looks like a dumbass. Isn't it beautiful?
No.
And that's it. Snap.
Butterscotch Shenanigans is our game studio that my two brothers and I founded back in June of 2012. It was really nothing at the time. It was just sort of a company that we founded because we all wanted to do various projects. We didn't actually know what it was going to be. We just liked the name. So we made the company. And then several months later that year, Sam and I left our jobs at the game studio that we were working at. And since we already had this company created, then we just started publishing games under the name of Butterscotch Shenanigans. Sam was just getting started as an artist. I was just getting started as a programmer. So the first thing we did was we just started trying to hone our craft by making mobile games because we thought we could still make kind of okay games and actually try to make a living off of it.
Actual body. Okay. So she has a body that's shaped like this.
Right.
My name is Sam Koster. I work for Butterscotch Shenanigans, and I make all the art and help improv the design of everything, since that's how we do things around here, as well as handle the marketing and any sort of promotional materials for the company.
For Butterscotch, I do all the web development and basically make tools for automating stuff. So many times Sam and Seth run into some trouble and they're like, it's too much of a pain to do this thing, then I'll just try to come up with a tool that makes it easier.
Adam works remotely from Dallas, Texas. He graduated from UT Southwestern, and his wife is in her medical residency there in Dallas, Texas. So he's stuck there until July 2016. Hopefully our studio still exists at that point.
I love that.
both Seth and Sam, since they're the ones who are local to St. Louis, have added quite a lot to the game dev scene as a whole. They've helped not only organize events, but also just organize the structure of how things should be run, and they actually came up with the idea of the Scatter Jam and ran the very first Scatter Jam, and it was hugely successful and really phenomenal.
They make it look like it's very casual and very, we decided we woke up today and we want to make awesome games. I don't think that they do much by accident. I mean, I'm sure there's some happy accidents as there is everywhere, but they seem very thoughtful in everything that they do. Even to just how they present themselves. I think they're casual because they want to be inviting to other people to build community here. They're, funny because it's what they like. And they've tried a lot of things too. I think they come at it from a bit of a scientist perspective of, let's try this, let's see how it worked. And if it worked well, okay, let's try it again and see if it continues to work well.
I met the Costers at one of the drink ups, a social event that's just kind of a happy hour where everyone gets together, which got along with them really well. And I ended up running a D&D campaign at my house for game developers, and the Coster brothers were very involved with that. In late 2013, they had some success with Quadrupus Rampage, and they were working on a crazy 10-hour game thing where every week they would spend 10 hours making a game and publishing it. And that went pretty well for a while. They produced a couple of I think were really fun games.
What I always tell people who want to get involved in games, whether it's being a designer or an artist or a programmer or anything, is there's nothing stopping you from going home right now. Well, you maybe should stay around for the rest of the convention. But going home and just making games.
Games are going to make the world be a more playful place. I think as it kind of should be, and I mean that in a loose sense as well. The ideas of gamification. What that really means for most people is really just to focus on usability and feedback and sort of getting some sort of joy out of the product you're using or the experience you're having.
To actually accomplish something and go all in, that means you have to dedicate a large amount of time and focus to that thing and it's over a long period. You can't just do it for half an hour, 20 minutes or whatever. You can't do it on your lunch break. You have to be able to sit down for hours at a time and just tackle that problem.
If you want to go into independent game development, you have to understand that making games is the easiest part. Just because you've made a game, and even if you've made a really good game, it doesn't necessarily mean that anybody's going to know about it. And if you want to make a living out of making games, you have to be a salesman. You have to be a business person. You have to embrace the fact that you're going to make something that's artistic, that you're proud of, but you're also going to have to ask people for money in exchange for it. You're also going to need to go out and make relationships with people. You need to go talk to the press. You need to try to find people who work at the distributors that you're going to try to distribute your game through. You have to do everything you can to get people to know about the thing that you're making. A lot of people just kind of think, there's that if you build it, they will come philosophy. And it's just not true. It's so easy to make games now with things like Unity, Game Maker, Unreal Engine, just to name a few, that anybody with almost no experience could pick up one of these programs and make something that they could call a game and have it published within a week. At the time that we first started, there were about 500 games hitting the App Store per week, and nowadays there's over 3,000. So it's just a really competitive marketplace, and the hardest part is just getting noticed.
We get along really well. We didn't used to. Well, we used to get along okay, but now we get along really well. So we have, the same kinds of interests. We value the same kinds of stuff. And it has turned out to be easier for us to constructively criticize each other than it has been for me with other people.
I just sort of watched with bemusement. I didn't really have an opinion about it. I couldn't play the games, I knew that. Seth got very interested in games when he was, maybe in junior high or freshman year. And I didn't know anything about it. This was a whole new thing. Julie was very worried about it, their mother. She thought it was a bad thing. And particularly in Seth's case.
Seth was in preschool, and we had this little computer, and we had gotten an educational game for them, which was anatomy, of course, since we're both science parents. And Seth hacked the fig leaf off of the reproductive system, so I don't know what he was doing. But anyway, and then he could put it back on. Somehow he got in there for the parental controls at that young age, and so I should have guessed something would become of that at a grander scale. I don't know. I didn't really let them have video games until they were in junior high, and they would go play it with their friends, obviously.
All these kids had a brief period of time when they, the teenage brain, when they could learn anything and everything, and that so much time and space was being taken up with this activity, and I really thought it was bad. We were assured by the guys that, no, don't worry, we have it under control. We had our suspicions that they did not have it under control. But we stopped at making our concerns known to them and letting them handle it.
I see a lot of their games, and a lot of times I'm like their old lady test dummy, I guess, if you will, because I'm no good at it. I run into walls. I can hardly do anything. So I think they figure if I can get somewhere in the game, that might open a whole new audience for them of old ladies. I'm not sure.
It's creative. It's interesting to them. People get a lot of pleasure from it. It's a complicated structure to put together, and so that's good for their brains. It's not hurting anybody.
And I didn't realize it was even a career possibility. So we had this sort of bias about the concept. Technology really changed in that 20-year period. I think it's very unusual. I've not seen brothers work together like they do before.
Forget it. Seth, nice wipeout.
The idea of working together on something, it just seemed like a given, really. I had always wanted to make games at that point, and Sam had no idea. He was applying for jobs in Boston and, doing web development stuff. And there was this moment where Sam just kind of leaned back in his chair and he just kind of looked at me and he goes, I feel like we could do this as a real thing. And so we just started doing it. Over time, Adam saw what we were doing, and he kind of had that same moment where he thought,
shit, they're gonna pull this off.
It all just kind of merged together sort of organically like that.
They hadn't figured out how to make that be a thing they could be successful at doing from a business perspective, but they were making the product. And the first game they made together, Tile Fight 2, when I saw what that was, it was a little rough around the edges, of course, but it was really good. And then the next game, Quadros Rampage, came out, and it's literally, as far as I'm concerned, 10 times better as a game in terms of just overall polish and how it feels. And then players agreed. We had, millions of them. And so then at that point, I was like, okay, I think now it's a matter of time. It's not a matter of they can't do it or anything like that, or even that it's unlikely or impossible. It's just it's going to happen. It's just the only question was, will their bank accounts last long enough?
When you're first starting out, you don't have the fan base. Nobody cares that you're doing anything because you're just one of the hundreds or thousands of people that week saying, I made a game, right? So our first game we put out, we used about a third of our remaining bank account to hire a PR company to help us get in touch with people from the press who write gaming blogs and all that stuff, because we thought if we could get noticed by the press, then we would maybe be able to get noticed by Apple or Google or one of these companies. If everybody's talking about our game, then maybe the distributors will notice and we'll get featured or something. That did not happen. We did not get the feature spot. We were very publicly visible in all these press outlets and stuff, but the first game just completely bombed. It was just a total financial disaster. And we also had about a 97% piracy rate on Android. It was also discouraging because we made it a pay-up-front game because we had heard from a lot of people that they were really tired of the sort of rise of free-to-play games filled with microtransactions. So we made it a pay-up-front game specifically to push against that movement. and we were thanked by having almost everybody just take our game for free anyways. We learned pretty quickly that we had to just obey the rules of the market. Our dad used to have a saying, you can't rock the boat until you're in a position where you're not gonna fall out of it. That's what we learned really early on. So we had to do free to play. If we were gonna be on mobile, we had to do free to play. We had to do the microtransactions because that's what people download, that's what they play, that's what they pay for. As much as we didn't want to. That was kind of a hard learned lesson, I think. But now that we have been much more we've had time to grow, we've had time to grow that fan base. We feel like we're in a position where we're not going to get knocked out of the boat this time. So we're gonna try to rock the boat a little bit. We'll see if it works. I don't know.
I don't know what I'm doing. Just because I've made a lot of games, it doesn't really mean a lot. So the things that I'm going to be talking about in this talk are just coming from my experience. And other people may have had completely different experiences. Other people may be working on completely different games or game types.
We gave a talk about like how to put a studio together, how to grow a studio. Someone's raised their hand afterwards and they're like, so what if I don't have two genius brothers who I could pull along for this? So we're like, well, I guess you're just boned, I guess. You just have to build with what you got, right? You find people you can trust. And I think that's just the biggest thing is the trust comes so easy on this one, right? I know it's possible with colleagues or employee relations, but it's just immediate with family. We launched Quadrupus Rampage and we had a mild amount of success with this thing. We're making enough money that we were like, oh, sweet, we're not gonna die, like this is gonna work, And then this weird thing started happening to me in particular where I was like, I just kind of started getting irritable. Like the things that I used to like doing, which is conversing with fans, any sort of art, whatever else, I was just completely uninterested in, and I was just fucking tired all the time.
I was worried because I thought he was just getting sick of making games. Like he couldn't explain what was wrong with him. He just felt tired all the time. So I kind of saw this shift in him over a couple months from being just, off the wall with energy and excitement, enthusiasm about everything, to just sort of bottoming out entirely.
Seth and I were seeing this happen, and both of us were trying to figure out what the fuck was happening. And this just kept on going on for like 6-8 weeks. I just got this really bad feeling. And I was like, I think this is really serious. I really need to see someone. So I did. I went there. The doctor basically gave me like a sort of a middle school feel up on the left side. And he just steps back and he's like, how old are you? And I was like, 23. And he's like, this is gonna be weird. Pretty sure that's cancer.
He was tired, a little, not his usual wound up self. But we just kind of did things like usual. But he just slept a lot and just like, oh no, I'm just tired all the time. So we're like, why aren't you going to bed? Figured he's up playing around, who knows what.
Fever around 5:30 every single day, PM. And I'd be in bed by 7, I'd be asleep, and then I would have like a full night sweat. So 2 o'clock in the morning, you wake up and it's like someone just like threw a bucket of water on you. And I'd get up and I'm like, what the fuck? This happens every day. And then I'd go back to bed, wake up, and I'd make 2 pots of coffee. I drank 2 pots of coffee a day. That would get me to about 2 p.m. And then I would basically crash and sort of like start going downhill.
He did a thing called the Uberman in college, which is where you do 6 20-minute naps a day. Because he's the kind of guy who is such a go-getter that he felt like he needed 22 hours in the day in order to get all the shit done that he was trying to do with his life, right?
It was weirdly a relief for him and for me, actually, that it was cancer in a really weird way. Because it's like, at least theoretically, cancer is the sort of thing that you can cure, right? Apathy or just a growing disinterest with what you're doing with your life doesn't really, like, you can't just turn that back around, right? There's no chemotherapy for that sort of thing. Every time they did a scan or something, it was just a worse and worse thing. They're like, okay, it's lymphoma, and that's good. Like, lymphoma is like one of the best ones to get. Like, besides testicular, if you can go for cancer, like, it's just testicular, but if you can't get that one, get lymphoma. Call my dad. He was like, hey, what's going on? What'd you find out? And I was like, so I have cancer. And he was like, what? And then I started crying, and then he was crying, and then we were laughing about it. I was like, this is fucking dumb.
You know, we're normally a very jovial family. Just everybody's laughing and doing stuff, and everything's good. You know, always looking at the bright side. But that was a day that we just were all silent, you know.
You can't even imagine dealing with cancer with your kid or, you know, a loved one, period. And so it makes your heart heavy. And I'll never forget the day that he called, that I was getting dog food and throwing it in the trunk of the car. And he said, Mom, I got back from the doctor and said I don't have an infection, I have cancer.
I thought, well, okay, you know, we can deal with this. And we do all of this stuff here to get a diagnosis, and then it comes back and it's not Hodgkin's. And then I go to talk to the pathologist, who is a friend of mine, who bursts into tears because she's looking at the specimen under the microscope, and she just looked at me and she said, this is really bad.
And they're like, when did you start feeling sick? And I was like, I don't know, June. And they were like, really? Okay, so like, this must be really aggressive, so we're gonna do a PET scan and just see what's going on. Do a PET scan, and I get diagnosed at stage 4B. So there's no 5, right? You're supposed to be dead after 4. So they actually didn't know how the fuck I was walking around. Because I was essentially, on the inside, I was essentially more cancer than human at that point.
So we were all in this mindset that, you know, it's over.
Luckily, it happens to be the case that St. Louis has one of the best lymphoma centers in the country.
So then we get the test result the next day, and none of us want to hear it. And thankfully, when the doctor came in, the very first thing she said was, I've got good news. But then she went on to say, look, he is so sick that we have to start treatment like tomorrow. Because if we don't, I'm not sure he's going to make it another couple weeks. So that's how sick he was.
David lost a brother when he was 13, and I lost a brother when I was 19, and my brother was only 21. So there was that memory and the dread of thinking, oh my God, I hope these guys don't have to go through that, because that nearly killed us.
Going through that was terrible, to lose my brother, but it was more terrible watching my father. You know, I had this distinct memory of lying on the couch because I was scared to sleep in my room because my brother was gone. And, you know, listening to my father just wailing. I remember laying there and thinking, I hope I never have to... I hope I never have to go through that. And so I was thinking about that. But then I start rationalizing, of course, saying, you know what? I'm not the only person that's had to deal with this. And I started, you know, thinking about all these people in Syria losing their kids. I started thinking about all the trauma all over the world, all the parents that have lost a child. Sam was still here. So I thought, okay, I can't do this. This is not how this can go for me. I can't be waiting for this to happen.
Yeah, you can't live in fear about all that. You have to live your life and just say, this is what I've been dealt, and this is how we're going to play it out. When somebody has some reason to live, and whatever that reason is, it can be, family or loved ones, it just really motivates you to get through all the stuff you have to get through. And Sam's not kind of a sad sap anyway. He's very, positive kind of a person.
Of course, every parent says, "Oh, my kid's so special," but it isn't it. I mean, the guy is, and he always was. He was a Pied Piper. When he was the tiniest child, he just drew people to him like moths to a flame. I mean, everybody wanted to be around Sam, and that's the way he was in high school and in college, and everybody just adored him because he's an adorable person. And I don't take credit for that. That's him.
We sat down on the whiteboard and we pull up the game we were working on before, which is a game called Extreme Sloth Cycling, and it was just pure ridiculousness. And part of it was born out of the fact that we couldn't figure out what to do next after Quadrupus. During that time, I was just kind of tanking. And so we're like, let's just make this like kind of ridiculous one-off game. It'll be free, mobile thing. Everyone's gonna forget about it in a year. And then I popped up in Game Maker, and I can still code okay. And so I just had an idea, and I was like, I think I want to build something else. I started coding up this thing, which was essentially like a Roomba picking up leaves. And after you picked up 10 leaves, they would turn into sandals. And Seth came by in the morning expecting to work on sloth cycling. And I just sat him down, and my selling pitch was, sloth cycling is not the game that I want to make before I die. Like, I can't have this basically be the last thing that I did, was make this stupid 2D runner. Here's a Roomba picking up some leaves and they turn into sandals. Also, I have cancer. Let's make something bigger and more meaningful.
Sam pitched the vision of the game to me as it's this open world adventure where there's all these characters and stories, and everything in the world is useful. You can break anything apart and turn it into all kinds of stuff, and you can build things and explore, and it's infinite. And I was like, great. We had no ability to do any of those things. Like, we had no experience with that, no knowledge.
The scale of this game is so huge, and the technical requirements so beyond our capabilities at that point. It was basically a completely insane project to undertake. And we did it anyways, because the cancer basically pushed me from being like, okay, it's okay to like sort of, cut your teeth and just make a few of these games to get an idea of what's happening. We'd already finished that process, that part of the game making process. And what we really needed to do at that point was make something that mattered.
He went from feeling terrible from his disease to then feeling terrible from his treatment. All that mattered was making sure that I was working hard enough that I could do interesting things that would keep Sam excited about the project that we were working on. If I was dragging ass on the game programming, then Sam would have nothing to make art for, right? And so I had to try to keep ahead of him all the time so that he always had something interesting to lay art on top of.
Art was still very kind of mentally draining for me to do. And it wasn't until I had those 3 months of just this sort of like rigorous focus in the face of cancer treatment that I kind of broke through that like initial sort of apprenticeship phase almost in art. It doesn't feel like you're dragging a chisel across stone finally.
I asked him if I should come in, just like we could play board games or just kind of chill. And he did not want me to come in. He wanted me to stay home and work on Crashlands. So I just kind of pulled an all-nighter that night, and the next morning I just drove to the hospital, I had put in some sort of makeshift torches, that were just really terrible artwork, but just to show kind of how the lighting system worked. And then for the next 2 days in the hospital, he was just pumped. He's like, here, I made these 20 different lamps, and he's just coming up with all kinds of cool stuff that we can make glow. That I think was kind of telling of the entire experience, where I did feel like I could do something to keep him going and keep him excited. And working on this game was very therapeutic, I think, for both of us, for sure. We emerged from the fog of all that chemo and everything. We looked at what we had, and we realized that it still wasn't really a game, and that we were going to have a hard time marketing it as a game. And that was about the time that Adam came on board as well.
So at this point, we did not have a main character or story or context or anything else. So you played as this thing, which was a totally different character model and everything. It's animated the same way, so we just replaced all the parts. Oh yeah, it used to be Spazbox, not Juicebox. And Spazbox was like a part of your suit that would talk to you, not an actual character in the game. Sam shows this prototype to Seth. And again, it was not a good prototype. But that's the beauty of a prototype, is you're trying to get an idea across, right? And Seth looked at it for what it was and saw what Sam was trying to capture, which was really just a feeling of just exploration, which later turned into something more important, I think, which is the feeling of joy. Because that was what was kind of hard to come by at that time, and we wanted something that could provide it. It turned into the first actual prototype of the actual game, which at that time was called Four Corners. And it was called Four Corners because Seth couldn't figure out how to make a map big enough to feel like it was a big space, and so he was getting annoyed because he would walk a short distance and be at the edge.
I remember the first time that Seth got the world to generate. It took 7 minutes to make the world. So you had to sit there watching the loading bar go as the world was being assembled. And then once it was assembled, it only took 4 minutes to walk across. It's... Then shortly thereafter, 6 months after, Seth dove into Perlin Noise, and he figured out how to make the world infinite and how to generate it in literally 0 time. It would take 63 years for you to explore the whole map. If you were to just do nothing but play Crashlands forever, you would be able to explore the whole map in 63 years. So it's a lot better than our original 2 minute map exploration. So yeah, that's how we're doing it. We're using Perlin Noise to put all this stuff in the world. Now, a lot of people kind of sweat over, I don't know, I guess they sweat over a lot of details, or as far as art is concerned, or kind of perfectionist about stuff. But for me, basically, my goal is to draw things once and then to never have to draw them again. Much to the chagrin of my brothers, I think. So I do my best to get it good enough. And so right now, I think this handle is a little dull looking. So I'll come in here and put some of these little flags in here, so it's got a little more sort of texture to it, and then actually come in and add nodes at various points here, so we can get some more bending of the handle, so it looks like it's got some paunch to it, like this.
Look at that paunch.
Little handle paunch, it's all full. I mean, a lot of the stuff in our games is it's got this sort of squishy, this squishy feel, which does actually come with a bit of over detail as far as these smaller lines go. So Sam made all of this stuff. I think we have now something like 16 of these texture pages. So we have well over, I believe, 2,000 sprites in this game. It's pretty insane. Sam can bang out some of these in how fast, Sam? 20 minutes? Most things take 25 minutes.
25, yeah. He times himself so he can get faster. It's like a sport for him.
weird thing for me about games has always just been that they just have better hooks than almost anything else as far as entertainment goes. So even the biggest book you can burn through in a matter of days. Playing games like World of Warcraft or Fallout, where the game world is so big and so rich that you can literally just do that and just keep on doing it. Sometimes for days or for weeks, even months at a time.
The way I see it is anything that's a challenge, it just sort of comes out the same for us as human beings. We just love to be faced with something where we can understand what the rules are and how to beat it, and then we just do it and we love it.
My guess is it's subconscious, but I think a lot of what we're trying to capture is that feeling we had in childhood where we could just walk out the door and go outside and be in effectively another universe, right? These times when you get to kind of just forget about all the crap. And of course, as kids, we didn't realize how minor that crap was. You know, it seemed like a big deal at the time. Looking back, we're like, I would love it if the crap I was dealing with now was like the crap I was dealing with when I was in middle or high school. Well, maybe I take that back for high school, but.
You know, the usual posed senior in high school photo. They're probably gonna hate me for that.
This scan is going to tell us whether or not he's clear of cancer, or at the very least, as far as we know. The doctors will not say that he's cured until he's been totally clear for 5 years. And then he also needs to get stabbed in the bones and get bone marrow biopsy and blood tests and everything else, you know. They got to keep poking him and prodding him for quite a while.
I know Sam's worried about this next time point because he's never had a long period of lymphoma remission. And so if the scans look good at day 100, this will be the first time to have 2 good scans in a row, which could give him confidence that we are achieving durable control of the lymphoma and make us all hopeful that it's going to stay in remission moving forward.
In about probably an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, we'll head in to the big room where there's this huge metal tube, and they roll you in, and then roll you out, and then roll you in, roll you out, roll you in, and it's kind of freaky, and they are basically imaging your insides during that whole time. So that's what we're here doing, and that's going to show whether or not there's any cancer going on. And as far as what I'm doing then, in the meantime, is going through a ton of new feedback that our testers sent in, categorizing it and sending it off to the bros. The goal is to convert, these 1,600 or so tickets into actionable items. And since I'm the one who gets to see every single bug, I'll start noticing sort of contextual pieces that fit together. And so I'll kind of bundle those together for Seth. And then he comes in, whenever he starts his workday, grabs whatever bundles of bugs he's interested in doing, and then sort of uses that and powers through them.
I think we put out a good 9 patches in the first week. The game has changed in all kinds of crazy ways, including we've now added 4 different difficulty modes where you can choose your difficulty level of the game. We completely had to rebalance the bosses because they were just terribly broken in all kinds of rough ways. Even though we got 2,000, I guess you could call them complaints, about the game, still, the game is so big that was actually a very low number. The overall sort of vibe that we got from our testers was that they were just really having a great time with it. You know, if it wasn't fun, if they weren't really having a good time, they wouldn't have played that much, just sort of out of courtesy to us. Nobody's willing to sacrifice 41 hours of their life just to be polite, right? So that was very reaffirming.
We're gonna go into the PET scan tube and get scanned for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then they'll get the reading, and then they'll read it, and we'll go upstairs and get the news.
Good news.
Good news. That's right. We're getting good news.
We're getting clean scan, good news. Are you able to?
So we met when it was my freshman year in college. I had been a competitive swimmer for all of my life, and I kind of knew that by the time I had gotten to college, I really wanted to do things I loved that I hadn't really had the time to give myself energy to devote to, and a lot of that was the artistic side of me. I just saw this flyer in my dorm room, Diwali tryout. I went to the tryouts and I really loved the hip hop one. And I just remember I had walked into the room on our first day of practice and I noticed there were only 3 guys. It was Sam and his 2 other friends. He became one of the best parts of my whole college experience, and that was 4 years ago. I was on the phone with Sam because I knew he was going to the doctors because they thought maybe he had Lyme. So I'm like, hey, how's the doctors? And he was totally normal because I don't think he was ready yet to tell me. And all of a sudden he calls me again and he told me, hey, I actually have lymphoma. Lymphoma is a cancer. It's one of those moments where like your skin tingles, like you're so numb, your body is starting to react physically to what you're mentally going through. We got off the phone and I went back into the dining hall and my friend Chelsea was with me, and I remember distinctly I just lost it. And I don't think she couldn't get out of me what was wrong because I was blubbering. Slowly he said, I'm like, Sam has cancer. He always did this thing where he said, you can always leave. I remember saying to him, look, I'm not obligated to stay with you. So if I'm staying with you, it's because I want to stay with you, and I do. I just wanted him to so desperately understand that I wasn't staying with him because I thought he needed me. I know, like, this is my choice, but I want you to know that this is my choice. When I said that, that's when Sam, I could see it in his eyes. He was like, well, do you want to get married? Like, I want to marry you. He had this, like, a white little wild grass flower and made me a ring out of it. And we were laying there and we're like crying because we're sad and we're crying because we're happy. Then we got engaged.
So, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing pretty good. Slept for 4 hours.
Oh.
You know,
a little anxious, but otherwise good energy level
good, yeah.
and how you're feeling. So the PET scan has not been reported by the radiologist. I looked at the pictures myself and found nothing of concern.
Yes.
So we're counting on very good results. I have to, wait for the head with the radiologist, but of course just specifically looking under the arms and any other lymph node groups, it all looks great.
Good.
So counting on you remaining in a complete remission.
Okay. When's the next PET scan?
And then we will do another scan in 6 months.
Okay.
All right. I know that he was very worried and anxious about getting those results, and it was terrific to be able to share good news with him.
No more chemo. He's all done with all that stuff. So now it's sort of the waiting game where he's going to be monitored for the next 6 months. If he's still clear then the monitoring spreads out further, maybe every few months, and then once the 5-year mark hits, then he's announced as cured. But we've been in this kind of weird limbo state with all this stuff since the beginning because cancer is very slippery and it's hard to detect. And so you can never really be sure whether it's gone or not until maybe years down the road. And so if we were just gonna kind of wait around and hope I think we would all just kind of go crazy. So we just need to keep working, keep making games.
Crashlands! If you like words and reading them, then prepare to experience the story of a lifetime. There's a bad guy, a bunch of quest givers, and you in your purple spacesuit slapping everything with your thumbless hands. Finger painting was never going to be relevant, your mother always told you. Show her she was wrong as you rub your magnificent home into existence with a build mode so convenient you'll have time to give her a call. Crashlands! 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 Defeat local wildlife to acquire their parts for your crafting, and then turn their own parts against them. Sew their skin into armor, grind their bones into weaponry, and turn their babies against their former brethren. Fight, Wampet, fight for your new mother's enjoyment. Set it and forget it like an infomercial actor with our oven-like workstations that bake items while you explore. Make a chair, make a lamp, make a stem cell baby you can suck the life out of to replenish your youthful flesh. With 5 billion divided by 1 billion 100 times, what is this? You'll spend joyous hours digging through your bags and moving things around. Shut up, no you won't! Your infinite inventory manages itself. Crashlands! Make bathroom breaks a thing of the past with Crashlands cross-platforminess. Share your save from PC to mobile and take your gaming on the road, or the toilet, or both. We spent ages crafting every last detail of Crashlands to make it the most amazing thing you could possibly experience. So of course, you can just throw all that in the trash to make your own campaigns using the Crashlands creator. It won't hurt our feelings at all.
We're trying to ease back into a normal work day. I think we're still probably at a good 10 hours a day. So it's a lot of work. We still have about 2.5 more weeks of beta to go before we'll call it done.
So the other day I was working in a coffee shop and I finished the sort of all the side quests for the first part of the game. And I just like closed the laptop and I'm like, whoa. Like that part of the game is actually done. And then just this last week, we finished all the bosses and we finished the bog story, which is the second part of the game, and it's just done.
So they've gotten a lot of really good press, which is the most important thing, and they already have a really strong fan base. Most companies have these sort of incremental developments, like the game you make might be 10% better or 10% bigger than your previous game. This is 100% bigger. I mean, this is a milestone type product. So I think it's going to do very well.
I think it's a really solid experience that is just getting better throughout the beta. They're only making it even more impactful, even more powerful, even more of a really excellent, smooth experience for their players.
I mean, I think it really is one of those amazing stories that, I mean, chicken soup for the game developer's soul, if I can put that out there. Yeah, it's tremendous. It's really, truly an amazing success story for them. And it's going to end with a fantastic product that they can be happy with, that can really allow them to continue doing what they love.
Crashlands is part of the chapter of all of our lives, which is Sam having cancer. Like, that's Sam having cancer and us working on Crashlands. Those are both part of the same, chapter of our lives. And I think we're all just kind of ready to just be done with it and move on, whether it succeeds or whether it fails. We just want to put our best foot forward with it. But we're not gonna stress too much, no matter what happens.
There are certainly things tied to it that now have had their sort of chapter closed, and this needs to sort of be the capstone on that whole thing. And hopefully it goes very, very well, and it ends up being like, oh, you got cancer, but you got this sweet game out of the deal, and like everybody loves it, So we'll do everything we can, but even if the game, doesn't do much, we're all so proud of the thing, and it's such a beast of a project that we're like, so what? We'll just, we'll go crank out some other game. We can make a game in 8 hours, so we'll be fine no matter what. But all of us are excited to move on and see what happens, I think.
This is the Monday of launch week. Everything is squared away. All of our probably now about 800 press contacts have been sent their keys. They're all playing it. We're just kind of responding to questions from people over Twitter and that kind of stuff.
We've got a bunch of Twitch streamers who we're trying to sending keys out to later today, basically saying, hey, if you could stream basically on Wednesday and Thursday, that would be fantastic. And of course, we just ask them to do it and see what happens. Bike Man has currently 1,488 people watching the stream. He's also about to embiggen his pet for the first time.
We should probably go sit in the
Oh, okay. He has no idea what's gonna happen.
Uh-oh. What? Campy is growing! Really?
Look at all the comments.
Oh, that was amazing.
Literally, the response was like just this series of like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? And it's exactly what we wanted. So people were like, that's amazing.
Constantly, every time a new YouTube video comes out, watch that video, watch Twitch streams, check Twitter for mentions of Crashlands. It's just, there's always something popping up. If something every 5-10 minutes is appearing, you just can't concentrate. We probably lost Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of work because we were just so swept up in, watching all these things.
Just watching people play it, and they're clearly having a good time, and like none of the stuff we designed is sort of slipping through the cracks or causing a large sort of headache. That means that we won. We won the design, right? So check that one. Then the next question is, do we get the professional payoff from it? But I think it would just be awesome if we got 10,000 Steam units on launch day. And again, less because I care about the money and more because I just want that many damn people to buy the game on launch day. Like, I want it to be the case that our media push did a good enough job, that all the people who loved it, who got to play it for the beta, and all the YouTubers loved it enough and sort of showcased that enough that on launch day, like 10,000 people play it, like the size of our hometown. Our hometown just buys the game. That would be great. So I hope it's the case that people love the game so much they look up our studio and they're just like, holy shit, like that makes this whole thing so much deeper and so much cooler. Like, at the end of the day, if someone wants, that they can go and find that story behind everything else, and that it is, a powerful enough story that it might be worth them sort of internalizing or retelling or just understanding something about the whole experience from. Sometimes if you can't get over something, then you're gonna keep working on it for a long time, But I'm super over having cancer, so I'm ready to be done, We used a lot of checklists, so I just made this big checklist for Thursday, which is essentially, it's not all of the big things that we want to have happen, but we don't know what reasonable goals are for launch day, but I think if we manage to sell 10,000 units from being featured on these various storefronts, I think in a day, maybe that's good. That'd be great. I don't know. So we just have these up here as sort of a vague reference mark. I think I'm getting that from Indie Game the Movie and watching the Super Meat Boy guys go through it, where they're like, 10,000 units on launch day is a success. So we're using the same metric, but across 3 different platforms. So hopefully it goes, and we'll just be checking these off as they come along. So we'll see how many we can get.
We fixed all of the known bugs. We have everything ready to go, so now we just need to hit the button.
Red Bull, it gives you wings and migraines after a time.
Everything gives you a migraine if you consume enough of it.
What about migraine medicine?
Tonight around 11 o'clock, we're going to be hitting the go button. So Adam's coming up from Texas to be here for the occasion.
How cold is it outside?
21 degrees.
Fuck, okay, I'll don a hat and shit, dude.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I will see you shortly.
Bloody goddamn mess out here. I just popped the trunk if you need it, but you may need to close it if not. Okay. Yeah. You may need to close the trunk. Woo. Or I will. No, I can do it.
p.m. January 20th, day before launch on Steam.
Okay.
Just checked my Squaminos email, which is where I've been corresponding like once every 6 months with the guy from Valve who we have contact with.
Okay.
He says, "Hey Sam,
This is from Valve.
I know this is kind of late notice, but we thought you'd be game for the opportunity regardless. Your game looks promising and there's clearly interest by customers and press, so we'd like to help make sure your launch is successful. We'd like to give your game a Steam marketing message promo spot. These are the messages that sometimes pop up when you sign in on Steam or when you quit a game. Can you send us a high-resolution version of the main artwork and logo for Crashlands? Our team here will put together the message hopefully in time for release tomorrow or shortly thereafter. I'll run it past you before we ship, but I expect it will be a pretty basic combination of artwork, logo, and the words now available. Cheers!"
Oh my god! Holy crap. Oh my god!
Yeah, so anybody who opens up Steam tomorrow, when they open it up, Crashlands will just be up, like thrown right in their face in a giant pop-up. Everybody.
Oh my god.
That's gonna be upwards of like 50 million people.
You know that they have data.
Guys,
That is
shit.
That's a moment. Good job, guys.
That's amazing.
Actually, I should look.
Here you go, Sampy.
My computer.
Yeah.
I need to send you guys an email.
I want to tell Dad how many times.
Oh shit, that was a good point.
That was just like straight up good whiskey.
I'm getting my clicking finger ready for the launch.
Let me see it.
Do you want the laptop?
Put it in like this. Alright team, good job.
We did it.
Time is it?
Time
date? Right there.
It is 9:59 on January 20th.
As soon as the clock hits 10, I'm hitting the button.
Yeah, man. We're here. Okay, music time.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Here we go.
Ready?
3, 2, go! Woo!
Why'd you chain us? You chained us out. Chain us. Okay, so I only slept for 3 hours, so.
I got a full 4 hours in.
Yeah, I got 4 hours.
There's a hell of a difference between 4 hours and 0.
Oh man, I was getting dog poked for the first hour.
We've never gotten a US feature at all before.
Correct.
So
well, not the big one. So this would be. Come on.
No, never mind. Turn it. Just go. Turn it.
No. Ah, damn it!
There it is!
Not editor's choice, but still on the banner.
The banner. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean,
I'll take it.
This is Nvidia's store, so they hook up to Google Play.
It's the Shield Hub.
So
It's
the
Shield
Metal
Hub.
Gear, Metal Gear Solid, Crashlands, and Octodad. It's a good company.
So we are keeping great company.
Pretty good.
So we got
So
the iTunes
it
feature
cycles through.
and Steam follow-up feature.
That's awesome.
So now we just have the Google Play feature and the various
Who made that
reviews from PC to come out. It's going.
Here we go. Ready? Let's do this.
Nobody.
Let's just start with basic info and just go down the fucking line.
Sure.
Okay. Crashlands. Installation, installer, which the only thing that should be checked is that. Good enough. Release dates will just be now once it goes. Support languages, English. EPOs included. Crashlands for Windows, Crashlands for Mac, not the press versions. Perfect. Cool. We don't have anything to publish, so we're fine. Okay, so now, store page. Unless you're already confident about the store page.
I'm looking, but I'm confident.
If we're confident about the store page, then we're ready to launch.
Hey
There
Diana.
it is. It's view release options.
I'm up.
All right.
Brush my teeth. It really wakes you up.
Let's do this. All
Alright, ready team? View release options. Ready for release.
Oh my god.
Okay. Crashlands prices. Yep. So it's that we can playable. Set it to be playable. Set app store page to public anytime now.
Set ready?
I think this is the last button we have to push. I'm ready. See how climactic it is.
Here we go!
We're in my basement, also known as the Butterscotch Shenanigans headquarters, Phase 2. We painted up the walls to be all butterscotch colors. We put whiteboard paint on the walls and kind of made it our own. Oh, I mean, it's nice because we have a window. I think if we were in a basement without a window, it would be pretty rough. And it's gonna get worse too because, you know, during the winter here, the sun comes up at 10 a.m. and sets at 2 p.m. So we barely see the sun as it is, you know. So it would be, we'd all turn into mole people in pretty short order.
So my wife and I have been in Dallas for 6 years. We moved because Butterscotch is here, but would have done that probably regardless, even if Crashlands itself hadn't done very well. It has been a lot better to be around family so that I don't have to talk to everybody by getting on Skype and saying hello and seeing people's faces through the grainy, crappy, bandwidth limited environment that is Skype and Google Hangouts and all that.
So after 2 years of dev and now about 10 months of post-launch, we found out that we managed to, you know, not only make a good thing, but to manage to launch that thing in such a way that we were able to capitalize on that success for ourselves and then bring in other people and help them and help us, you know, as a studio going forward. And essentially grow both the idea of Butterscotch, the general capacities of Butterscotch, and everything else. We could bring more games into the world that do exactly what we want them to do, which is provide this sense of goofy joy to everybody. That's just been the wonderful sort of wrap up to the whole thing. And, you know, again, the question of whether or not we'll be able to sustain that then for the next 2 years, who knows? You know, we'll find out. Volume 2, but with where we're at now, it seems like we're on a good trajectory for it.
we've had people who have had all kinds of terrible things going on in their lives, and they have played Crashlands, and they've sent us letters, and they've just been like, a whole bunch of shit went down, and I played your game, and there was like a 40-hour period where I was able to just be in a different place, and everything was hilarious and joyful and happy and amazing. And so thank you for just like, lifting this burden off of me, right? And we get to do that for people, which is unbelievably cool. And so now the shift has just gone into sort of like, how do we make it bigger, right? How do we do just more and more and more of that, and just become this sort of Katamari ball of happiness, right? And just keep rolling more and more people into it. And I'm excited to see how far we end up taking it and how big we can make it get. Because the bigger it gets, the more of an impact we can make, and the more people's lives we can change. So I guess when I say we don't really approach it in the same way, is it's not really about the thing we're making. It's just an amazing way for us to reach other people, and that's it.